Hello, this is John Michael Chambers. The following is an exclusive special report titled Exposure, the Electromagnetic Human Test, which will premiere on Making Sense of the Madness daily broadcast. The content for this eye-opening report was provided by investigative journalist James Grunwig. There is far more to the global shutdown enacted by the architects of the pandemic than meets the eye. Much of this is now being revealed if you look in the right places. Exposure, the electromagnetic human test? Just what does this mean? Put on your seatbelts, you're about to find out.
The global shutdown, enacted by the architects of the pandemic, required misdirection carried out with the skill of a magician, lured the audience into hypnotic focus on a single object as they rolled out their agenda in veils of concealment. Like the lead-up to a grand finale, the masters of illusion hooked the audience's attention with one dazzling move after another. First, with the virus breaking out of China showing people falling dead in the streets and hospitals overrun with bodies. Then, with the worldwide epidemic infecting cruise ships and decimating industries. Next, they imposed fear of the unknown with asymptomatic carriers. At each turn there was a new trick. They sold vaccines made at warp speed as the only solution, the only way to return to normal. They planted more seeds of doubt to keep eyeballs glued on COVID-19 with an endless stream of news bites on wearing masks, social distancing, and the CDC's new twindemic coming this flu season. They weaponized big media, while directing the tech giants to ban, censor, and erase opposing narratives. They controlled the news. They controlled the information. They controlled the people. Take your eye off the magic wand and one can see the coronavirus serving two purposes. First, the architects used it to distract people from discovering the underlying cause of the virus-blamed illnesses. Second, it allowed the rollout of 5G infrastructure on Earth and in the sky. The world had been hoodwinked. Using the shelter-in-place orders as cover, telecom contractors installed 5G equipment and networks in empty schools and offices, while many businesses switched on surveillance spacing and tracking apps, electrifying the environment with non-ionizing radiation. With few eyes on the stealth rollout of 5G in 2020, they erected cell towers camouflaged as trees and cacti, and hidden on lampposts in the suburbs. The architects did all of this and more, neither informing the public about the true nature of their plan nor seeking their consent to being exposed in the greatest biological experiment in human history. The majority of people around the world have little idea they are being doused daily with non-ionizing radiation from space, where they live, and where they travel. Add Wi-Fi, laptops, smartphones and new tracing and spacing apps, and the exposure to millimeter waves have grown exponentially. Soon 5G wireless technology will be everywhere. An omnipresent eye. The end goal of what the World Economic Forum's Klaus Schwab wrote in the Fourth Industrial Revolution report in 2016, aims to transition societies to run on data while being controlled by AI and automation. The on-ramp of smart vehicles, smart homes, smart buildings, smart factories, and smart cities will one day connect consumers, businesses, and industries in the 6G web of Nikola Tesla's digital ether. Selling the promise of magnitudes of efficiency gains and superfast download speeds, what's rarely discussed are the darker elements of the cashless society or the 24/7 surveillance state. Convenience traded in for absolute control. But what is not talked about are the health impacts of living and working in the hot environment. Test case, Wuhan, China. The industrial hub of 11 million people became the first 5G city in Asia. On the same October 18, 2019 day as the Gates Foundation-sponsored Event 201 simulated a coronavirus pandemic killing 65 million people, Wuhan hosted the World Military Games. During the two-week expo, Wuhan turned on 20% of its 10,000 base stations that all went live by year-end. Was it a coincidence that the COVID-19 outbreak occurred in the world's first 5G hotspot city? Or that many of its citizens dropped dead in the street, their brains starved of oxygen, an ailment known as hypoxia or acute mountain sickness? The next outbreak occurred on board the Diamond Princess cruise ship in February. With one person out of 3,700 people on the ship infected with coronavirus when it docked in Japan for quarantine, the shelter-in-cabin order backfired. In 2 weeks, COVID-19 spread like wildfire, infecting 712 people on board, almost 1/5 the total headcount. How did that happen? The World Health experts could only venture a guess. Food? HVAC duct systems? What was left out of the probe of the Diamond Princess, however, and 3 of its sister ships, Princess's Cruises was the first cruise line to become a wireless hotspot. Late last year, the 4 ships installed Medallion Net, a dual satellite system using near-Earth orbit and geosynchronous satellites to beam Wi-Fi down to the vessels crossing the vast open space of oceans. The Grand Princess, which docked in Oakland, California, avoided a similar fate. In that case, authorities disembarked the passengers and sent them to quarantine at a nearby military base. The Ruby Princess, which quarantined in Australia, triggered a homicide investigation when 11 of its 250 unwell passengers died in less than a week. The next epicenter in the global pandemic shifted to northern Italy. It, too, like Wuhan, became Europe's first 5G hot zone. Soon, the corona plague killed off the elderly and the weak, with stay-at-home orders and shutting down businesses doing more harm than having any measurable effect of containing the epidemic. In each instance, like New York and Seattle that followed, COVID-19 spread unevenly, flaring up in nursing homes that likely deployed 5G wireless systems for patient monitoring and telehealth. The question becomes, why has the world been dealing with a coronavirus outbreak that never behaved like its predecessors before, dating back to the 1960s? And are the long list of unusual ailments, many related to oxygen deprivation, the result of the common cold virus? Or is it something else? Something less quantifiable, such as the next permutation of blanketing the world with SpaceX's new 5G Starlink system? Under new scrutiny, the coronavirus cover story begins to break apart like the RNA fragments the PCR tests identify as positive cases. Could the faulty tests be a tool of deception? Do they also pick up the breakages in human cells, known as exosomes, due to amplification of the new wireless systems, as well as the coronavirus? It would explain why predominantly the elderly and people with comorbidities didn't survive the onslaught of the next plateau of irradiating the planet. One last anomaly sticks out of the Magician's Act. Scientists found coronavirus strains in the sewer systems of Seattle and northern Italy. Last December. That's months before the outbreak started in either region. Did the architects of the pandemic preload coronavirus into last season's flu vaccines in China, Europe, and the United States, as some medical doctors suspect? If so, the corona cover story, being natural in origin, takes on a lot of water. What people need to do is watch the schools in the West that reopen this fall to see if new COVID-19 clusters emerge with the children, teens, and staff. New wireless systems installed in those facilities would be another piece of circumstantial evidence that the coronavirus pandemic is in fact a cover story for the deleterious harm caused by switching on 5G satellites and hotspots around the world.
The deep state and shadow government will stop at nothing. We are at a crossroads for humanity. It's either us or them. This one is for all the marbles, and this story is not yet over. We have an awesome responsibility to expose the lies and crimes and to reveal the truth. Freedom? It's up to us. This is John Michael Chambers. Thank you for viewing this special report. Be sure to share it far and wide. And remember, stay the course, trust the plan, and heed the call. For where we go one, we go all. God bless.